'twas the time of the preacher.
I used to be such a nice guy.
Well, for a man that don't go healed, you run your mouth kind of reckless, don't you?
It's a little too early for being that loud. Hey, too late.
What an incredible Cinderella story. This unknown comes out of nowhere.
I guess I'm the only one that remains unaffiliated.
Welcome to the 4-1 podcast, where for 4 minutes we talk about one topic. Today I want to talk to you about crying. Have you ever cried before? I mean, like really cried, like not just a little tear here, but I'm talking like the big boo-hooing, snot drizzling, can't breathe, just can't catch your breath, crying. Of course you have. We all have. Maybe it's been a long time for you, and maybe you can't even remember the last time it was. Maybe it's something that's really fresh and recent. But I want you to know you're not alone. We all cry sometimes. It's an important part of the human experience, but it's not just human, it's also divine. It's kind of neat to think about God crying. You see, Jesus, when he was here on earth, he cried. John 11:35, the shortest verse in all the Bible, just 2 words. If you've never memorized scripture before, here you go. I'm going to give you one right now. John 11:35, Jesus wept. Not Jesus cried, not Jesus shed a tear, not Jesus felt some strong emotions and had some liquid draining from the ocular cavity. Jesus wept. He wept. I'm talking boo-hooing, body shaking, snot running down, weeping. Why? Well, his friend Lazarus had passed away. Okay. So was he weeping because of grief? Doesn't seem to really add up. I mean, Jesus has just declared to Lazarus' sister, Martha, I mean, he's really good friends with them. These are close friends. He's just declared to her that he is the resurrection and the life, that whoever believes in him will never die. So, I mean, Jesus is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. So he knows that this death is not the end. In fact, before he had gone to where Lazarus was buried, he had told his disciples, hey, guys, this sickness won't end in death. And yet he shows up and Lazarus has already been in the tomb for days. Now everybody there thought, well, he's late. He's late. Maybe you felt that way about God before. He's late. He didn't show up on time. Where were you in this one, God? Sometimes that's one of the reasons why we weep. We feel alone. We feel like maybe God's not there and we're alone. But Jesus isn't late, and he wasn't late then. He was right on time. And so when it says Jesus wept outside the tomb of his friend Lazarus, I'm not really convinced he was weeping for grief. Others have said, well, perhaps he was weeping because he had empathy. You know, he's really close to Mary and Martha, Lazarus' sisters. They're close personal friends, and they're grieving and they're mourning and they're weeping, and maybe he wept with them because of empathy. Well, Jesus is clearly empathetic, and I love that about him, but I'm not sure that would produce the weeping that we see in the text. You see, he already knew what he was going to do. He already knew that he was going to call Lazarus out of that tomb, that the dead man was going to come back to life. He already knew that. If he was just weeping for them and with them empathetically, then it doesn't really quite add up in the moment. You see, my opinion is Jesus wept because he didn't want to do this to his friend Lazarus. You see, Lazarus was dead. And you know, when people die, sometimes we like to say, well, that person's in a better place now. But Jesus knew the truth. Lazarus wasn't in a better place. He was in the best place. The best place possible. And now here's Jesus outside that tomb, about to call him out of that place and back into this. And he wept. He wept because he knows there's something so much better than here. And he wept because he was calling his friend back here. Sometimes when we grieve, we wish our friends, our family could come back, but they're not in a better place. They're in the best place. And so in our grief, it may be short-term and temporary, but God's got a different perspective. And it's so good and it's so powerful. So the next time you think about eternity, maybe you'll remember why Jesus wept. And because of that, you'll be more eager to pray for one.